Welcome back to Books and Backbone. I'm Donna Harris, CEO of Bookkeeping Made Simple, your host, and today I want to talk about one of the most consequential financial decisions this growing small business makes: hiring. Not who to hire, not where to find them, not how to write a job description, when. Specifically, how to know from the numbers whether your business can actually support a new hire before you make the offer. Because here's what I see regularly in small business. The hiring decision gets made from a feeling. The business is busy, the owner's overwhelmed, an opportunity appears. It feels like the right time, so they hire. And sometimes it works out. Often, more often than anybody wants to admit, it doesn't. Not because the person was wrong, but not because the role was wrong, but because the financial foundation wasn't ready. And 3 months later, when the cash gets tight and the revenue hasn't grown the way it needed to, the owner is faced with a decision they didn't expect to make this soon. Today, I want to give you a framework that replaces the feeling with a number, a specific calculable number that tells you whether the business can support this hire before you make the offer. Let's start by naming the mistake I see most often. It's not hiring the wrong person. That's painful and recoverable. The most expensive hiring mistake I see is hiring at the right time for the wrong reasons. Specifically, hiring because the business feels busy, not because the numbers can support it. Feeling busy is not the same as being profitable enough to add salary. A business can be completely overwhelmed with work and still not be generating the margin to support another employee, especially when you take account for the full cost of that employee, which is almost higher than the salary number alone. The owner who hires into genuine capacity, into revenue that already exists and margins that can already support another salary, is making a confident decision. The owner who hires ahead of revenue they expect to generate is making a bet. Sometimes bets pay off. But they should be made knowingly, with a clear understanding of what happens if the revenue doesn't materialize on schedule. Before I give you a framework, I need to address something that most business owners get wrong from the start. The salary is not the full cost of the hire. The salary is the floor. Here's what the full cost of a hire actually includes: gross salary, which is whatever you agreed to pay. Employer payroll taxes, typically 7.65% of wages up to the Social Security wage base, plus Medicare taxes above that. On a $50,000 strategy, that's about $3,825 in employer taxes alone. Benefits, health insurance, retirement contributions, paid time off. If you're offering these, they add meaningfully to the cost. Now, they also add meaningfully to the ability to retain talent, but let's not make a mistake here. They're not cheap. If you're not offering them, the market expects them, which means you have to pay above market salary to compensate. Onboarding and training. The time you spend getting someone up to speed is time you're not spending on revenue generating work. I have some thoughts on this, which I'll probably talk about in a later episode. But for most hires, full productivity takes 60 to 90 days. During that window, you're paying full salary for partial output. Equipment, software, workspace, whatever this person needs to do their job. When you add all this up, the $50,000 salary realistically costs anywhere from $62,000 to $68,000 in the first year. A $75,000 salary might cost $90,000 to $95,000. Model that number. Not the salary, the full cost, because that's the number your business needs to be able to support. So here's the framework, and I want to walk through it with real numbers so it's concrete. We're just using these as examples. Step 1, calculate your current break-even. Your break-even is the monthly revenue you need to cover all of your fixed costs and pay yourself a market rate. Most small business owners don't do this, but it is fixed cost plus your salary. If you don't know this number off the top of your head, pull your P&L, costs, rent, insurance, software, loan payments, utilities, your own compensation, and that total is approximately your break-even. So let's say your break-even right now is $18,000 a month. Step 2, add the monthly cost of the hire. Take the full annual cost of the hire, salary plus taxes plus benefits plus onboarding, and divide it by 12. That's the monthly addition to your fixed cost base. On a $50,000 hiring with a fully loaded annual cost of $65,000, the monthly addition is approximately $5,400. Now you're going to calculate your new break-even. $18,000 plus $5,400 equals $23,400. That's your new monthly break-even with the new hire in place. Step 4, evaluate your revenue against the new break-even. Here's the question that tells you whether your revenue is consistently above $23,400 a month. Not occasionally, not in your best months, but consistently with enough margin above it that a slow month doesn't push you below break-even. If the answer is yes and the trend's moving in the right direction, that hire is financially supportable. Make the offer. If the answer is not yet, hire is a bet on future revenue. It still might be the right call, but make it with your eyes open, knowing exactly what you're betting and what happens if the revenue doesn't come in on schedule. The break-even analysis tells you whether the hire is supportable on the P&L. But the second question that you need to answer, and it's separate from the profit question, can you cash flow the hire? Payroll runs on schedule. It is either every week or every 2 weeks or every month, regardless of whether your clients are paying. Which means if your receivables are slow, if you're consistently waiting for 45 or 60 days to collect, the cost to cover payroll may not be there when payroll runs, even if the business is profitable on paper. So before you hire, model your cash flow for the next 90 days with the new salary included. Not the optimistic scenario, the realistic, maybe even the conservative one. What does the cash position look like in a slow month when 2 clients pay late and 1 project closes later than expected? If the cash position holds, if you have enough cushion to weather a slow month with the new hire in place, you're ready. If the model shows you running thin in week 8, consider establishing a business line of credit before you hire. Not after, not when you need it, before. Draw on it when the forecast shows a gap coming from a position of strength rather than desperation. It's like they can smell it. Anyway, before any business owner I work with makes a hiring decision, I ask one question. Is this hire funded by revenue that already exists or by revenue you expect to exist? It's not a trick question. Both can be the right answer, but they're different decisions because they carry different levels of risk. Hiring into existing recurring revenue means you're adding capacity to serve what's already there. That revenue base is proven. The margin is known. The new hire is expansion of something that's already working. Hiring ahead of anticipated revenue means you're betting that the growth you expect will materialize before cash runs out. That's a legitimate business position. Sometimes you have to invest ahead of growth to capture it, but it's a bet, not a certainty. And it should be sized accordingly. An owner who, and by the way, we often do this. I mean, we know that in accounting, we know that tax season is coming up. I might decide to hire tax professionals in the last quarter of the year to train them and get them ready to go when tax season starts. But to be honest, I already know what my revenue is for tax season. I know all the glitches, I know all the problems, I know what went well, I know what didn't. So when I hire for tax season, I know what I'm going into. So you may be needing to ramp up. Maybe you have a new contract that's fallen into your lap that requires 5 new employees. But if you still need to model this and make sure that you are able to support the employee when things are lean. What if the contract doesn't fall through? Doesn't come through? What if it falls through? Now, before you hire a full-time employee, ask whether a contractor or a part-time engagement solves the immediate problem. A contractor doesn't add to your fixed cost base the same way an employee does. You pay for the work, not the seat. There's a lot of There's a lot of little things you need to know about contractors. You cannot treat a contractor as an employee, for example, but you do reduce the engagement. Again, maybe I just hire some contractors for tax season as an accountant, and they know that they're contracted through this date, and then they're gone. If your revenue doesn't come in the way you expected, you reduce the engagement. You don't have that conversation no business owner wants to have. Contractors are more expensive per hour than employees. That's the trade-off. But they're less expensive in the scenario where the revenue doesn't materialize. The right sequence for most growing business might be a contractor to test the capacity need, or if not a contractor per se, then maybe a temp. Okay, but you want something where you can easily back out of it. And the contractor thing is more nuanced than I'm saying here. Contractors have a very specific set of rules that the IRS requires. One of them is that they provide their own supplies, and the second one is you have no discretion over how they work or when they work. So I just tell mine, if I hire contractors, we're open from 9 to 5 Mountain Time. Do I care when they work? No. Everything can be scheduled, almost everything. But I don't have the same control over a contractor that I do over an employee, and that's an important thing. And if you get this wrong, the IRS can ding you, and you will owe back wages and benefits and back taxes for an employee you were trying to treat as a contractor. So use this with caution. I would say more of a part-time engagement would fix this problem long before a contractor. So if you're hiring employees, maybe bring someone in part-time, and that gives them a chance, or maybe go through a staffing company. You can hire from a staffing company. Works out really well. But then you don't have to have those conversations. You can just tell the staffing company, yeah, we're done. We don't need a temp anymore. But that's a way to test your capacity need. You hire full-time when the capacity need is proven, and you use temps or part-time employees, contractors in very limited situations when the capacity need needs to be tested. And you might tell that I'm kind of anti-contractor. I'm not really, but I've also seen a lot of abuse of the contractor position, particularly in construction, where they're trying to use contractors when they should have hired employees, and they're paying the price. There is a price to that. Anyway, we want to prove the capacity. We want to make sure the business can handle it. The right hire at the right time is one of the best decisions a growing business can make. It creates capacity, it frees up the owner, and it builds towards something that doesn't depend entirely on one person. The same hire, 6 months too early, because before the numbers can hold it, is one of the most expensive decisions a small business makes. Not because the person was wrong. The person you hired could be the best, but the timing was. The numbers know the difference. Your break-even calculation knows. Your 90-day cash flow forecast knows. Make sure you do too before you make the offer. If you want help running this analysis for your specific situation, or if you want someone to look at your numbers and tell you whether they can support the hire you're considering, I'd love to have that conversation. You can find me at mysimplebookkeeping.com. The first call is free. I'm Donna Harris. This is Books and Backbone. Hire when the numbers say yes, not just when the calendar says you're overwhelmed.